That's fucked. Holy shit.
Oh my god, there's so many of them. Oh, there it is! Fuck!
But if evolution is real, and if there is this constant, I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that in fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what sense?
Well, in the most basic sense, the idea that, you know, all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's tons of record of adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, you know, through the litter to litter. But no, there's no evidence at all that, zero, that, you know, people, you know, evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all. And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution because the theory of adaptation is clearly, obviously true. But Darwin's theory's totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later, you know. No, we have not found that at all. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
God created people, you know, distinctly, and animals. I mean, I think that's like, I think what every person on Earth thought until the mid-19th century, actually.
Right, but
it's not a new idea.
They didn't have computers. They didn't have a general understanding that we have today of the process.
Do you think we understand more now?
Yes.
Really?
You don't think that we understand more today?
We understand way less. We understand so little that we're actually sitting here allowing like a bunch of greedy, stupid, childless software engineers in Northern California to like flirt with the extinction of mankind.
I tell you what, I love nothing more than flirting with the extinction of mankind. Like, that's just right up my alley. Mankind kind of sucks. Y'all are alright. Everybody out here in the chat, you're cool. Rest of y'all, though. Rest of y'all. How's my audio? I think it seems a little peaky now. I'll be moving rooms soon, and then we'll be with the padding on the wall behind me, so it won't be so echoey. So this should hopefully be maybe the last week or two of this, because yeah, me and Ben will be switching rooms soon. He's got the big closet, and I got the little 1/4 bath or toilet and a sink right there. So yeah. We'll be switching rooms so I can get with built-in drawers and everything. It's really nice. Okay, thank goodness. Every video I've watched since I've moved into this room has been so echoey to me, but I'm just used to it being like right up behind me. I can hear the echo in the room itself, though. Anyway, enough tangents. Good morning, my beauties and bees. Welcome to Live from the Hive. It is January 25th, and it is currently here. It's 8:38 a.m., which means, Central Timers, which is where I used to be, it is 9:38 a.m. And then those East Coast folks, it is 10:39 now a.m. And then out there in the mountains, it's still bright and early at 7:39. Good morning, everybody. We are coming at you from El Paso, Texas now, as you may or may not know. It is currently 31 degrees, though. It's been a little bit chillier here because that darn polar vortex dipping down and dropping all this cold air to places that don't usually get it. We've had some snow here in the last couple of weeks, so it's been experience. We still have the heated pool and hot tub out there, though, so we can go out and still be warm. Oh, sitting in the sun, that sounds nice. It's not sunny yet today anyway. We have 300 days of sunshine here, though, something like that. And yeah, you are welcome here. I welcome all believers here. I'm very skeptical, but we have believers in the audience, believers in all sorts of different things. I probably believe in some stuff that other people don't believe in, so it's perfectly fine to hang out, and we can crack open some stuff that it'll be stuff that we both can't believe in. Do animals love man or hate man? I don't know. I think that love and hate are human concepts, so I don't think animals have the ability, at least not all animals. Some animals have the ability to love. I don't think all animals do. I think there are animals that just love their humans to death, though, domestic animals. We're talking about domestication later on in the show, too. We're going to talk about the domestication of the canary and its use in coal mines at the end of the show and Bree's bestiary, so stick around for that. Yeah, supposedly... It was supposed to be a sweltering 35 degrees today. Well, you're getting above freezing, at least. Look at the trees. That's good. Good morning, Spooky. Matter of fact, let me just go through and just say good morning to some of my folks here, because John Hudson was here first and got that first place medal. And we had Captive Desk and James Nordoff. We had Sonia Hopeful and... Let's see. Those guys talked for quite a bit. Then Mark showed up and Gio. This is when we got the raid from Chris's show, Rainbow. Jason Jacoby's in the house. And there's Trees, his messenger. Yeah, hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's good to see y'all. I'm glad everybody's here. Sandy's here. Hey, Sandy. Yeah, hope you're doing well. Oh, goodness, Native Atheist in the house. Hollyhock is here. Of course, we mentioned Trees earlier. Good morning, all of my friends and fam out there in live chat land. We're going to get a show going here for you in just a couple minutes. But first, coffee. Yeah. So, couple of things. Right now, the show's format is CrypticCorner for, it's generally about 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. It depends on the topic and how long the coverage goes. And then we'll do the weird with it for about 45 minutes. And then we move on to Bree's Bestiary. We used to do a fourth segment of the show at the end, right? And I decided that I'm going to pick different indie bands that have a song about whatever or any kind of song about, as long as it's fair use, about the animal we have in Bree's Bestiary. So that's gonna be how we end the show. Now we're gonna do that, and then we'll run things through, and then we'll call it a day. But I'm getting way ahead of myself because we have a fun show today. The Cynocephali won the won the poll. Cynocephali are the dog-headed people. So we talked about melon-head people last night on the Cryptic Corner, and so we're just doing a theme this weekend. It's heads, cabbage heads, melon heads, dog heads. All right, I guess canary heads too, if we're gonna be morbid about it. But we'll get to that at the end of the show. All right, who is ready for some Cryptic Corner? Because I am, and it's gonna get really, really bizarre. All right, I'll see you guys over there. All right, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome once again to another installment of Cryptic Corner. I've got this hair that keeps flying down on my face. Where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, because I would never accept the moniker of Amazing Ember. I'm sorry. It's the Amazing Ember. I'm not stealing that from you. Ember's the amazing one. I'm bombastic and Ember's amazing. Steph is Steffing, and Carly is Chardonnay, I guess. But regardless, we do make up the transposition. So if you don't know about that, drop a link, one of my mods, please. There's enough wrenches out there to fill the NASCAR pit crew, because I'm loving and giving to all my people. Yes, good morning. Yeah, I'm not really a bee. Sorry if anybody thought I was actually going to be a bee. John Hudson. John Hudson is a fellow Texan. I'm not a Texan, actually. I'll always be a Missouri girl at heart, because that's where I grew up. And sometimes if I get excited, that accent will come out. So keep your ears open for it, and you might even get a chance to hear it today. Who knows? But we can both be amazing, Bree. You amaze me anyway. Ember, you're such a sweetie. And there's the link to the transpositions. That's the show that me and Ember work on. So if you want to, you're like, what's that? What's the transpositions? You can click on that link, and there's a short little intro video. I'll wait. It's like 30 seconds. Actually, it's at the end of our show. I could probably pop over to it real quick now. Let me see. Yeah, let's do that. You want to know the well, no, because we're in the middle of Cryptic Corner. I will get back to that. We'll do Cryptic Corner. What am I doing? I'm ranting here. Good morning, beautiful people. Good evening to everybody watching this live at Cryptic Corner on Friday night. My live audience is keeping me tickled this morning, so thank you for your patience while we get to the topic at hand. So we've covered a lot of werewolf and dog-like stuff on the show. We have we did the Ringdocus or Wahila. We've done werewolves and dogmen and all this fun stuff. There is one called the Wolver in Scotland that we haven't done yet, but that one's going to be for our March lineup, because we always do a couple of fairy videos around St. Patrick's Day, and we will do the Wolver around there. Also want to, since everybody's here and paying attention, I want to draw everybody's attention down below where I'm talking. You should still be able to hear me and scroll down. So we're doing Hogwarts houses, but with cryptids. So, is the link in there? Yeah. So, this one hasn't been updated yet. Hold on. I'm going to fix that real quick. This will just take me a second. Because I added that link on after I scheduled this. So it's not showing up. Hold on. Upload defaults. Yes, there we go. Unless you guys can see the merch store down below. I can't see it when I look at it. Let me refresh. Maybe it'll show up now. No merch store. Okay, so let me fix that real quick. Should just take me a minute. We have merch. We have the 4 houses of cryptozoology that I just want to cover real quick. And I'm going to put the link in the chat below. I just got to update it real quick. I just made the stream before I added this link to the video description default. So it should be updated now, though. Like, if you refresh or whatever, it should show the link to my Fourth Wall store. And there are 4 t-shirt designs. Cried, that's something I kept meaning to do and didn't get done till. But, how can I do that? Yeah, I think I can do that way. But these are the designs. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go Cryptic Corner main. And what's all this now? I've never in my life wanted to sort by name. Stop it. All right. Here we go. All right, let's pull that up. Oh, we're gonna do. Now that I know where it's at, I'll just have to cut this out because this is taking too long for it to be part of my Cryptic Corner segment. But I do want to do the Cryptic Corner shirt ad. Yeah, so these. Why you gotta be so big now? Stop being weird. So you got the Swamp Booger. And we've got the Jersey Devil. And we've got Dogman. Oh, we also have Mothman. Yeah, so you can get your own. Yeah, you can get your own Cryptic Corner t-shirt. Yeah, this will be running at the end of all the Cryptic Corner videos now, but these are the options and designs that we have available for all the Cryptic Corner fans. Yeah, so check that out. But today, speaking of Dogman, we are talking about dog-headed people. So make sense of that. Let me see here. We'll do Where's our dog-headed people? There. Okay. Yeah, so we've been here before. This is Ward Radio, formerly Midnight Mormons. Or maybe Midnight Mormons as a show on Ward Radio. I'm not sure. But they tackle a lot of nonsense. Here's their channel description. Welcome to Ward Radio. Here we delight in truth. We denounce deception. And we have fun. We are a refuge from Babylon. We hope you join us and stay a while. Maybe even enjoy yourself. We are a pro Latter-day Saints podcast and radio program that talks about anything and everything tangential to the gospel of Jesus Christ, the scripture, or scriptures, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to read the description. Oh, this is only 58 seconds long, but hold on. We'll finish reading this too. We do a lot of debunking of anti-Mormon haters who think we are stupid if you believe, but we also don't take ourselves too seriously. We hope you stay a while and enjoy yourself on our channel. Let's see. This is their channel ad. Wait a second. What? Yeah. So that's the little intro thing. Oh, it's still I was reading the chat too. That's funny. That's their little, and there's not really much to it. It's like a 50-second.
These guys anti-bitter.
The standard of truth has been erected.
Yeah, listen.
Stop playing defense.
Good morning.
No unhallowed hand can stop the broadcast.
That is the way that a lot of Latter-day Saints do apologize.
Good morning, Al.
Cancel culture rages and mobs combine.
We actually had one of the protesters over for dinner.
What?
But the truth of God will go forth boldly
These people are lying to you. They do not care about you.
until it has reached every television, sounded in
What a
every
morning.
iPhone, and reached every person. This signal will continue to go forth. Here, we defend truth. Here, we
right.
denounce.
Hold on. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to bed. All right. I'm going to set my alarm, and then when the alarm goes off, I'm going to get up and try this. Try to start this day over again.
Deception. Here, we are created in the image of God. Our detractors call us crazy, but our friends call us.
Ward Radio. All right. So today they're going to teach us about the Cynocephali. So brace yourselves.
Here's where it gets weird, okay? The Cynocephali. Now, here's where it gets weird, okay? The Cynocephali have been spotted in the ancient world and the medieval world, all over the world.
Okay.
What they tried to say was the Cynocephali were actually just baboons. Academics have been taking the L for the past decade. They're a bunch of nerds, and all they want to do is impress each other in their circled...
That's like 80s and 90s mentality on academia. It's like that is what you think someone has a personality disorder. I do. I have a couple. You want me to list them for you, babe? Though I don't know about, maybe the Ward Radio folks have personality disorders. I don't know. I'm not a trained professional, but I'm here anyway. Kwaku calling anything weird is wild, yeah?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Midnight Mormons. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, and today we are joined in the studio by none other than Brad Whitbeck and Kwaku L. And today we've got a really fun topic. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's one of Kwaku's conspiracies, and it's a good one. What is it, Kwaku?
Well, which one do you guys want to hear about? Because I have two. I have the Kybalion explained, the law of mentalism, vibrations, and all sorts of stuff that was given through the 3 initiates of Hermes Trismegistus as recorded by William Watker Atkinson in the early 20th century. Or we can talk about the Cynocephali, a group of half human, half dog people that lived in North Africa and in South America.
Dude, half human, half dog. Let's do it.
Okay.
That's cool. What do you think, Brad?
Oh man, I was feeling the vibrations thing, but let's go.
We're doing the dog thing. I don't want to hear their theories on vibrations. That'd be for weird with it if we did. But since we're talking about a cryptid here, it's coming up in Cryptic Corner.
Oh, it's the dog people first.
I can make him connect. So here's the thing. So the Cynocephali. Now, when someone says dog people are real, you're usually gonna think, no, okay, you're a psycho. I'm gonna dismiss you because you can't believe in dog people. But the legends of werewolves, you know where those come from? They come from the Cynocephali. The Cynocephali were recorded.
Okay, the legends of werewolves are a lot more complicated than that, Kwaku. The modern interpretation of the werewolf links itself back to like 16th century France. I believe a couple months ago. When did we do Beast of Gévaudan? Le Bête de Gévaudan. When did we do that? We went through this list, and during that period of time, there were hundreds of wolf attacks in France. The European wolves had just had enough. They'd been pushed back by all these wine-drinking Frenchies, and they decided to fight back. They made war on humans for a few decades there, and a lot of our werewolf lore comes from that time period in France, and to a lesser extent in Germany, mostly France, like 90% France. If you look at that time period, there are hundreds of wolf attacks. There are pages and pages of it documented. So yeah, that's where werewolf legends come from. And then there's also, even further back than that, it comes back to the idea of demonic possession in light of mental illness and not being able to explain that. There's a mental illness that actually has a diagnosis code for it called lycanthropy. And it's a real condition where the person thinks that they are a canine. They think that they are a werewolf, and they behave as such. Or they become beastly, but it doesn't mean that it's based on real wolf-headed people. It's it's taking it one step further. Oh, this person became a wolf mentally. What if that was powerful enough? Or what if there was some external force that could make them become like a wolf physically too? Wouldn't that be scary? And then you get into different ideas on how that could happen. What could turn you into that? What can, the moon, the bitten by the werewolf, drinking from the wolf paw print, whatever. All sorts of crazy ideas on how this affliction could, land on people. I think science teaches people what to think. I don't trust scientists. I mean, this isn't even about science. This is about history, right? We have the court records. We have the hospital records or almshouse records depending on the time period of people being treated for these conditions. It's all documented
by Herodotus, and Augustine. In fact, St. Augustine actually wrote...
Unless you're a mud flood person, and then the world didn't even start, or this cycle didn't even start until 1776. But we'll get to that in the next segment of the show.
An essay, if you will, about whether the Cynocephali could be saved, because they're just beast enough where they're not subject to salvation, but they're also just human enough where they could be. Now, here's where it gets weird, okay? The Cynocephali have been spotted in the ancient world and the medieval world, all over the world.
Okay.
What they tried to say was the Cynocephali were actually just baboons.
Okay.
Because baboons kind of look like human dog. They don't.
How do baboons not look like a human dog hybrid? Dogs have a condition to have grabbing jaws. It's prognathism, right? So baboons have that same feature, but they have hands like a person. You could say, depending on where on the spectrum you're going, you could say a raccoon was like a half man, half dog, right? So saying a baboon's not like a half man, half dog is sort of disingenuous, but I think baboons may account for some portion of these sightings. But I have another theory about this that I like and think fits even better, which we'll get to further on into the show.
You think they didn't know what a monkey was? You know what I'm saying? They know what monkeys were.
No, science is a process, not a doctrine. Science is a process of understanding the physical world around us.
So the Cynocephali were, according to, I think it was Herodotus, they were a peaceful people, but they can only communicate through barking. But other people like Marco Polo described them as, I think he said they're more vicious. And even Christopher Columbus was hoping to find some Cynocephali when he came to the Americas, but he didn't find any.
Get out of town, really?
Yeah. And if you look at look up the
if he went to South America, he probably would have found some monkeys that would have fit the Cynocephali mold. Let me see. Like if we look at these are North American monkeys, right? If you look at like a black howler monkey, you can definitely see how that might be perceived as a werewolf. If Christopher Columbus stumbled across this when he reached the mainland, because these guys live in Central and South America, so they would have been along the southern coast of Spain. If Christopher Columbus reports Cynocephali, whatever you want to call it. I had trouble with that word yesterday too, on the melonheads thing, because hydrocephaly, it was the condition that the melonhead suffered with. But 3 minutes in, I've had to stop.
I'm looking up their pictures.
Thousands of paintings in the medieval ages of the Cynocephali of half human, half dogs.
This is wild. Okay, so half human, half dog. Now, were these some of your human-animal hybrids, bro? Or
you know exactly what it is, Carden.
I don't, though, Kwaku. You got to tell the audience.
Okay, but how? How are they pulling it off? See, this is what I don't get, Kwaku. Nowadays, we've got all kinds of gene splicing. And by the way, I'm not one of those people that thinks the ancients were idiots and couldn't do anything. Because some of these ancient monuments are pulling off exact measurements and stone cutting better than we can now with our, quote, modern technology. And I think, the horribly soft bigotry of low expectations saying, oh, well, Polynesians could never cross the Pacific because they didn't have all Western European technology. I think that's like borderline racist. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say that, okay, the ancients couldn't pull it off, because there's certain things that, despite maybe not having had X, Y, or Z modern technology, in an amazing fashion, you could move the stones of Stonehenge, or you could pull the rocks of the pyramids, or whatever.
Right. I appreciate this about the show, that they actually take the time to say, hey, this Western notion that any great structures constructed outside of ancient Europe must have been done by some external force, because the people that lived there weren't able to do it or shouldn't be able to do it because they're lesser people. They're not capable of making these kinds of buildings or megaliths. Bullshit.
But gene splicing is a chemical technology that we haven't seen.
No, I'm not saying that like a lady German Shepherd we got these people. But what I'm saying is
things I have to edit.
Hold on, let me read some of the comments here. One could say that science is based on certain philosophical suppositions, like the physical world is real, and studying the physical world is a useful tool for understanding. Same. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I have to edit that you say.
So,
oh my gosh.
But I am saying this.
Okay.
When you look at the ancient world, and you look at the, okay, let's say this first. What is a genie in a bottle? You rub the lamp and the genie pops out.
Okay.
Okay, now describe a hologram.
Oh, that's a really
Very similar.
point.
A genie is actually an entity, though. A hologram is just a recording. That's like saying, explain a movie projector and saying, well, that's a genie. That's a genie because it's projecting it. I mean, don't be silly. Come on, that's silly.
Okay.
Lehi's not Kaibali.
Leahona.
Sorry. The Leahona. That's a piece of ancient technology. You
Oh,
look
we'll
at
have to get
Göbekli
to that.
Tepe, very clearly, we had far more advanced civilizations than we like to think. And here's a crazy thing. I want to do a podcast on this.
Why? What about Göbekli Tepe is showing that we're more advanced than we should be? It seems like that's where we should be because that's where we are. I don't know. I don't know what measurement you're using to say where we should be at what time. Super weird.
But it's gonna have to be like an hour, so we have to do a different day.
Okay, that's fine.
Looking into the descriptions and art in Africa and in South America from the 1300s, and the descriptions of the land, and even some of the way it was portrayed in the actual medieval art, you have giant towers and things that were supposedly not supposed to be there. So the ancient world, I'm there's
my
a
message.
very
I
legitimate school of thought that the medieval ancient world were far different than we're being told, and that they've lied about a lot.
Okay.
This is proto-Tartarian rhetoric, though, because this was 2 years ago before that really got its traction. Tartaria is sort of replacing or merging with, depending on how you look at it, the flat earthers, especially since after the final experiment, the idea of a mud flood wrapping around the earth and then us having to dig it out and all this nonsense.
But so you get into the Cynocephali, you have to ask, okay, well, how do we get dog people? Well, this goes back to the ancient. This goes back to Genesis. This goes back to ancient Sumeria and the fallen beings, the fallen angels that made it with humans and created these monsters.
Nephilim.
Which is why you have monsters all over the ancient world.
So are you saying that Cynocephali or Cynocephali are Nephilim or descendants from Nephilim?
And they disappear because you got to remember something. Hermes Trismegistus, Hercules, and Abraham were all contemporaries. And nobody thinks about how Abraham and Hercules were running around at the same time.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh,
Who were
interesting.
contemporaries? Who were contemporaries? Say that again?
Hermes Trismegistus, who when he died became deified. It became Hermes, the Greek god, and Thoth, the Egyptian god, the messenger god, right?
Okay, so Hermes Trismegistus.
Who some people think is Enoch.
Some people think
right?
he's Enoch, yeah. Hermes
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So the Muslim esotericists.
Okay.
Some people say, I love those weasel words. Many people are saying this. Some say.
Hermes Trismegistus / Enoch. Who?
Yeah. Hercules.
Hercules, okay.
And Abraham were all contemporaries.
And Abraham down in Egypt were all contemporaries.
They're all running around at the same time.
Whoa.
People don't think about that, yeah.
What does this have to do with dog people? Right? Come on. Get back on topic. As far as Abraham, Hercules, and Hermes, they can all be contemporaries whatever time period. You can put them back in the days of the trees, right? Before back in the Valian years, because they're fictional, just like the Valor, and just like the two trees of Arda, or not. Well, yeah, the two trees of Arda. We're gonna call them that. I actually love the two trees. I wish we could have those for our world.
I've never made that connection.
Yeah. Also, it's really interesting. Another cool connection is right when in Malachi, when the prophets send, is when Plato and Aristotle and those guys all start taking off. End of the prophets, but the beginning of the philosophers. It's like the God continued the inspiration.
Okay, so
anyway,
okay,
so the claim there almost sounded like he was saying that that the Greek philosophers were a continuation of prophets. There is an overlap, though. Certainly, it's not like it trades off, because Greek philosophy goes back. Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna fact check you, Kwaku. Greek philosophers. All right. Which looks like... I'm going to do a timeline. See if there's a timeline of Greek philosophers. So 620 BC, right? Began developing, and that was Thales of... I think that's how you say that. It's Thales of Miletus. Let me pull it over so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So, Thales, maybe? Thales, I think it's Thales, yeah. Thales of Miletus. Thales of Miletus, 620 BC. Socrates, who really, is the guy, right? But it was older than Socrates by at least 100 years. So, but there were prophets, or self-proclaimed prophets, before, during, and after of the God of Abraham, before this, or during this time and before this time. Anyway, oh, that's not what I meant to do. No, I lost my place. See if I refresh it, if it'll.
I don't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I've never made that connection.
Yeah. Also, it's really interesting. Another cool connection is right when in Malachi, when the prophets end, is when Plato and Aristotle and those guys all start taking off. End of the prophets, but the beginning of the philosophers. It's like the God continued the inspiration.
Okay,
people.
so
But
anyway,
anyway,
okay, so
Interesting.
you're
I've got
saying-
so much information.
Yeah, like I was mentioned at the start of the coverage that this was Mrs. Midnight Mormons is the name of the show, and the channel is Ward Radio.
There's too much to talk about.
Okay, wait, but I just want to make sure that I'm catching up. This is like when Joe Rogan had Alex Jones on his show. And he said, well, slow down, Alex. I got to have James fact-checking whatever you say so people don't get mad at me. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to process this all. You're saying Joseph Smith killed all the werewolves. Okay. And that...
All the Cynocephali.
And that the and the Christopher Columbus came to America looking for Cynocephali.
Well, so he expected to see the Cynocephali. So the Spanish explorers thought they were going to see Cynocephali, and instead they just saw people they considered savages. Some probably were more savage, but the Cynocephali have been spotted all over the ancient world. Anubis.
Yeah.
Of course, they got to throw in that little jab at why are people from Western civilization so opposed to the concept that maybe the Native American savages that they read about in old pulp magazines and such, and historic accounts from what do you want to call them? Colonizers, conquistadors, things like that, about how savage the natives were overblown, or were maybe in some cases even fully fabricated to demonize the people and justify.
Egyptian god.
Oh
Dog
my
man,
gosh.
right? So
Uh-huh.
you start looking at this kind of stuff.
That.
These dog people are all over the ancient world, and here's where it gets crazy. Saint Christopher.
Okay.
Google Saint Christopher.
Okay. Well, first things first, I got to show the picture of Anubis being the Cynocephali. If you actually look down on that corner picture, sure enough, you look up Anubis Cynocephali, and there is your connection right there. Boom shakalaka. Open this
People
up
think
and
these
it's-
fairy tales were just made up. No, they all come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Honey, we've been doing animism. Some of the earliest, actually, I think the earliest effigy is a lion-headed man in Europe. So it's basically a cave lion that someone made merged with a person. That's one of our earliest representations. And is the claim here that because we have that there were really lion people running around during the Pleistocene? I don't think so.
That's true. What do you know? Look at that, Kwaku. Okay, so keep going. You want me to look up Saint Christopher?
So look up Saint Christopher, because Saint Christopher up until the 19th century was depicted as Cynocephali.
No.
Oh, interesting. And I'm just looking here. It's been speculated.
That's what this picture
The dog
is?
saint. The dog saint's a Cynocephali, yeah.
Oh my gosh! Holy smoke!
You know the
look at
painting of like
this!
the dog saint? It's like a dog head, or the painting of the dog saint carrying the little Jesus. Have you seen that?
The
picture?
little Jesus.
Oh my gosh! No, look. I'm going to put this on the screen right now so that everybody can see it. Here we have understanding the dog-headed icon of Saint Christopher. There he is.
Why is
with
it
a little
cutting it
dog
off
head.
like that?
So,
my gosh.
Kwaku, are we certain that is not just a mistranslation? Like people misreading him as a Canaanite?
So yeah, so
And-
because the words are similar. So
Yeah.
Canaanite and canine are similar.
Especially in Latin, it's like one letter off. You have Cananeus
Right,
and
exactly. That's what-
Caninus, right?
So the two,
or well, I guess 2 letters off. But
So the two explanations are, well, there's 2 options. Either the Cynocephali were a real tribe, or it all came from a mistranslation and they were actually looking at baboons. Now, here's the hard part
Or maybe they're looking at something else completely. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
of that. When Egypt comes into play, they've got their own thing going on. They're not relying on the Latin and the Greek.
Okay.
And Anubis, the god Anubis, is going back to the ancient days before Cynocephali, where you've got these dog people. And it also doesn't account for the fact that the dog people were seen in ancient America, and North Africa, and in India. So one of the ways to try to explain it in the Mediterranean was, it's the translation. But then it's like, okay, well, how come they're here?
There it is.
And in Egypt.
Saint Christopher as a werewolf. There's all of these pictures. Now, hold on.
The original, here's the thing. Saint Christopher was...
There's something we got to remember here, too, is that when you go to India, in any kind of urban area, there are people that populate those cities. But, oh my God, are there monkeys that populate those cities? There are monkeys everywhere. They seem like they're part of the native population. They're crawling. They're on the build. They live in the house. They live in houses and everything like that. It would really visiting India would really come across like you found 2 species of primates that live in an urban environment together. Because that's true. Rhesus macaques are some of the langurs, more so in the west. Or sorry, not the west, the east. But in Africa, of course, you have Barbary ape, baboons that again would live in urban areas as just like pest species that radar dumps and things like that. And they might seem like they're more civilized than they are because they're living in cities. And they're utilizing human developed environments and tools and things like that.
The tale goes he was a savage, brutal monster who loved to kill Christians. Okay. But then one day he was told, by the way, the Satan is the strongest god in the world.
Okay.
And so he gets into a ceremony to summon Satan, and there's a couple different renditions of the story, but to summon Satan, and then he's talking to Satan, and Satan's like, only one name scares me, and it's the name of Jesus Christ, and Christopher's like, oh, hey, well, who's that? I wanna, who is that? The leader of the Christians I've been killing? It's like, yeah, he's the one stronger than me. He goes, well, I want to know who that is. So then he learns who.
This is Kwaku's fan fiction too. As far as I know, this is not doctrine of any religion, Abrahamic or otherwise.
Christ is. And basically, he's got all this strength. He's a half man, half dog. And so what he does is he dedicates his life to saving Christians with his strength. And there's one story where they say, can you carry this baby across the river?
Okay.
And he's carrying this baby across the river. But as he's going, the baby's getting heavier and heavier and heavier.
And the name of that baby was Theodore Roosevelt.
And Christopher says, my goodness, my legs can barely hold you up. You're the heaviest baby. It's like I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Okay.
And the name of that baby was John Travolta.
He says, that's what I've done. Behold, it is I, the Jesus Christ in which you've been. He's like, so Christ.
Oh, I was so close. Could have been Travolta, could have been Roosevelt, but Jesus, I guess, is okay.
Appears to him in like a little, multiple mortal probation as a baby.
Okay.
But he's a half man, half dog. So when you start looking at all this stuff, you have to. But here's the thing:
Oh, thank you so much. Who's your buddy? I just now saw. Who's your buddy gifted 10 channel memberships. So one went to My Unfinished Journey. One went to KW. One went to Mark, the right-handed Sith Smith. One went to the fabulous Junie the Voice. Looks like we have one going to Scott Duke. One to DJ Ratgirl Tika. Hey, Tika. Good to see you. One went to Birdie B right across the way. Hello, Birdie B. One went to Hellbound Hillbilly. Then we got Patty Troy got one. And Leon Kennedy got one. Good morning, Stephanie Helms. But, yeah.
Depicted as a half man, half dog. Now, where it's crazy is St. Augustine writes, is he subject to salvation? And the thing people miss about this is why Herodotus and Augustine and these people were writing about, like, literal debates and dialogues as to whether these people could be saved or not, whether they should convert them. Because, one, you had missionaries that saw them and wrote about it. Okay. And then, two, you had missionaries who heard of them. It was like, oh, I heard of somebody who saw. Then you people say, no, I saw them. But how about this? If it was a social and political subject, the Cynocephali.
Okay.
Almost the way we talk about immigrants and immigration. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to get into that right here, Hollyhock. So you're just ahead of the curve. You're ahead of Kwaku. That's all right, though. Hollyhock said, can we consider that sometimes people call other people dogs to cause offense? Yeah.
Cephali in our society, what do we do? If you didn't live in a world in which this was even possible, in which nobody had seen a monster or a dragon or a fairy or whatever, nonsense. You're not going to write about it. You're not going to have the top scholars in the world writing about it. But if you live in a world in which these were already an accepted possibility and a reality, that people had seen monsters, that you actively were dealing with monsters, then guess what? This becomes an actual spirited debate, right? So, it's really, really, really interesting.
And that's the thing too, that they, prognathism, for instance, is a condition. They could be, these ancient people could be exaggerating to dehumanize the natives, native populations of sub-Saharan Africa, and maybe looking at sub-Saharan slaves in the Egyptian cities and saying, oh, these are dog people, just to be demeaning and demoralizing for them.
Because the more you start getting into this medieval stuff, you start realizing that these people legitimately believe these things were real. And we have multiple eyewitnesses who say, yeah, no, I saw them. Don't go into the water because that's where the mermaids are and they'll kill you.
Okay, so I've got...
But by mermaid, they probably just meant a manatee. Look, I've seen a lot of fat women in my life, and not once have I ever...
gosh, what?
No, that's what they say. They say they just saw overweight women, so they thought they were... they overweight women or manatees, and they thought they were...
not... That's a twisted version. So when they saw manatees, they thought they were large women, and large women were the flavor of the month for about, I don't know, 20,000 years or so for humans, because it meant that it was a well-fed person. It's not. They didn't think that that fat women were manatees. They didn't think that. They thought that manatees, because they have hands they have fins with fingernails on them, and human-like breasts when they're feeding their young, and all Afrotheres have human-like breasts, so elephants do too. That they thought they were a species of human that had adapted to the water, or they thought they were a kind of person when they first encountered manatees, because it was just a tertiary, simple engagement.
They're mermaids.
Oh my gosh.
That's the actual explanation to why so many people saw mermaids. It was a fat chick or a manatee.
So in order to debunk a lot of Kwaku's conspiracies, we're
no one ever said it's a fat check. Come on now.
Forced either into body shaming or racism, because Polynesians can't cross the Pacific,
and
mermaids are fat chicks.
And we legitimately confuse a tribe of North Africans for baboons, is what the scholars are saying.
That is not what they're saying. They're saying that the stories could be a combination of people seeing baboons in Africa, and Barbary apes, of course, and also seeing sub-Saharan African people living in Egypt either as immigrants or as captured slaves, especially as captured slaves, though, where they would have been kept in more lowly conditions, and just the lowly conditions being compared to how they kept a dog, spitting out into these are dog people. But there's another culprit that you're not thinking about, especially with the Egyptians.
Not kidding.
Serious.
Or
you're talking about when they were saying that the Cynocephali were actually baboons, even though the ancients, when they went to North Africa, say, no, I saw Cynocephali. Okay.
Also, St. Augustine was, guess what? An African.
St. Augustine was African.
Yeah, he was North African.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
North African, as in of more of the Arabic and Muslim descent.
Yeah, he was definitely more
sub-Saharan
Arab.
African.
He was definitely more North. He was more Arab. Okay. However, but I mean, North Africa back then was a little less divided.
Here's my pushback.
He probably looked more like me, like the half Arab, half black mix, right? But it's like this guy. You think this guy doesn't know the difference between his homeboy and a literal ape? You know what I'm saying?
So, and the idea that somebody from the Middle East would know what a baboon was is a little, it's actually kind of far-fetched. There would have been maybe some monkeys that got traded through various Mediterranean trade routes, but baboons wouldn't have been, at least not that common in such a trade, because they're aggressive. There are much more docile species of monkeys that to be exposed to, and a baboon is large. But again, I don't necessarily think baboons are the only culprit here, but we'll get to that.
So
think he doesn't know?
Kwaku, just before our listenership,
and I want to make it clear, him referencing Arabs as part of the reason why I'm going to present my case here in a minute. So if you're interested, after this, I'm going to lay out mine. But this is running a little longer than I wanted it to.
At FM 98.1 actually thinks that all Mormons are insane conspiracy theorists that are convinced that Joseph Smith killed all the werewolves and Christopher Columbus was looking for Cynocephali.
You gotta admit, you didn't know what that was until today, and it's a cool concept.
Yeah, but they didn't trade big cats in the pet trade where you'd see it in the market. Not generally, anyway. Big cats were things like gifts for kings and generally big cats were considered even today they're somewhat considered a symbol of royalty and upper class, but your average person wouldn't. Well, they may know what the big cats are, but their exposure to monkeys would probably be, just generally speaking, exposure to smaller, more docile species of monkeys that are cute and entertaining, right? That they can teach tricks and stuff, and that's where you'd see them, and you'd go down and they do a show for you, and you'd throw quarters into them and things like that. But baboons weren't usually used in that nature. Baboons could have been used during the Roman era to fight in the Colosseums. No doubt there were baboons and other monkey species, Barbary apes perhaps used. But apes weren't used. Apes, again, you're talking either far east or far south into sub-Saharan Africa. So our exposure to them is very limited, and some of the earliest depictions or descriptions of apes describe them as a people. It's just a primitive people, because I mean, in my opinion, they are a primitive peoples. Using the word primitive loosely, I would prefer, a uniquely adapted people, but I think they could be people.
Conversation,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. I will accept Kwaku's cool conversations and conspiracies. Okay. But I want to give a little pushback of maybe what this could have been.
I've read all the explanations. Go on YouTube. Okay, and if you go on YouTube, you can look at the.
Let me say.
Okay, then. Okay.
Okay, so look at your screen right now.
If you go on YouTube, you can debunk all the scholars.
Yes. As we know artistically, St. Marcus was always, St. Matthew, I believe, was always represented as the lion. St. Luke was the ox. St. John was the eagle. And then it was either Matthew or Marcus. One of them was a lion. Okay. Oftentimes when you go to the Vatican, you go to Italy, you go to all these beautiful old Catholic cathedrals, you end up seeing, physical statues and artistic representations of, St. Lucas the ox, right?
Right.
So could not St. Augustine...
Not even... You're trying to pull the magic away, Cardi. Here's why it's not
could
even...
not St. Augustine simply have been positively referenced as the strength and the craftiness of a wolf?
Oh, you mean St. Christopher? Yeah.
Or St. Christopher,
no,
yeah. So
no. Here's why.
Couldn't that be an artistic?
I know that's what you want to go to because it's the most normal thing. They were given the strength of these animals because these were the common animals for production in the time, and you could see the strengths of them, and it's similar to a zodiac. Okay, you don't actually believe you're the stars, but there's the association with. It's the same reason why China has every month is an animal. You've got the year of the lion, the year of the cat. Those are symbolic. Not once did anyone make
of the zodiacs real actual.
Oh God! Don't get him started on the zodiacs. What are you doing? That's going to be a whole rabbit hole. Kwaku can spin yarns about. I mean, obviously, this dude's Kwaku spends a lot of time looking at the same type of conspiracy videos on YouTube that I do, but like with a completely different lens.
We can talk about that in a different podcast. Okay, but what I'm saying though is not once were any of the saints ever said to be human-animal hybrids from the. Did you think they really said St. John was actually a half man, half eagle from the tribe of Shambambabu up there in the Kunlun Mountain?
They had like St. Patrick healed werewolves, literally. Or was that was St. Patrick, right? Yeah, the werewolves in Ireland, a whole village that would turn into wolves for I think it was like for X amount of years, and they turn into people for a year, then turn into wolves. It was like 7 years or something like that. And St. Patrick came and broke the curse. So saints do a lot of silly stuff. St. George slew a dragon. Do you believe it? Oh, Kwaku definitely believes in dragons, though, and I'm sure he believes that people were cursed by God to turn into wolves too. By a Celtic god? No, probably by a Mormon demon that used to be a Celtic god. I don't know. They didn't say that, but
of course they didn't. They didn't go that far. What I'm saying is this was considered to be a literal tribe.
Western academics for their soft bigotry and low expectations.
Dude,
As
I'm
you
sorry.
just say,
I don't trust.
The bigotry is not coming from them. The bigotry is coming from inside the house, pal. You're just going with Kwaku saying, yeah, they think they compared African people to baboons, and that's what the people ran with, and you're running with that and saying, oh yeah, Kwaku's right. No, Kwaku's not.
From blah, blah,
goodness
blah, blah,
gracious.
First, Joe Rogan is beating CNN and MSNBC. Academics have been taking the L for the past decade. They're a bunch of nerds, and all they want to do is impress each other in their circle of academics, okay? Because that's all it is. No, seriously, I know you have to censor that
Joe Rogan has the academics on, too. Like, name one big academic person that is not been on Joe Rogan. He's had Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's had Lukaku. He's had, I hope I said that right. He's had Bill Nye. He's had all these different science communicators on the egghead academics that apparently are taking the L when, They just keep learning more and more and have better understanding why you keep appealing to ancient mythology, but whatevs.
Things I have to edit. Then why don't you do it?
Okay, I have a question
this
for you,
guy said
Kwaku.
this in a book, and so I'm referencing into this book, and it's literally just a circle. That's all it is of nerds that nobody cares about. I wrote a book at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, that 5 people are going to read. And the 100 students that have to buy it for class are going to sell it for weed in a month. So shut up.
Okay.
So, but you think Joe Rogan is a better place to learn science than in science books by scholars? Jesus.
So
Okay, so I've got a question here.
Okay, what's your
if
question?
these Cynocephali are really like human-animal hybrids, we were talking earlier about the flood, right? And with Noah, part of the reason that God flooded the earth was because of these human-animal hybrids to get rid of them. So are these Cynocephali like leftovers from after the flood, or where did these come from? What's your thoughts on that, or do you have anything?
So remember, one of the ancient Jewish thoughts for the flood of Noah.
You got like 60 seconds for this. So
one of the ancient Jewish thoughts for the flood of Noah was not to just destroy all of the giants like Goliath and the human animal hybrids, but they were to clean the human bloodline, because the human bloodline was so corrupted. And so the cleansing of the bloodline did that. But remember, there were still monsters and still giants flying around in the Old Testament, right? They were like grasshoppers in the sights of the giants, as it says in the Book of Numbers. So the monsters were still able to come because the fallen angels were still coming to Earth. But
I believe that they were like grasshoppers. Was comparing the numbers in their army, not meant to be taken literally, but yeah, take whatever you want literally from the Bible. I think a lot of the battles and stuff mentioned in the Bible, I think, really happened. I mean, I think there's a lot of history stored in the pages of the Bible. It's biased history from one point of view, just like Roman history or Greek history is biased from their point of view. So you're going to see the Germans as barbarians, the Germanic tribes as barbarians, when they were people with their own cultures who sure as hell didn't call themselves barbarians. That was the Roman name for them. So to take this metaphor that we were like grasshoppers and they were like giants, and take it literally and say, oh, that means there were giants. Well, there's just no evidence of that. If there's it's mythology at that point, if you want to go that direction. I don't think it's mythology, actually. I think it's a description, a metaphor for a battle.
Human bloodline was not completely and totally polluted. That's the point, right? So, which is why you have them all appear. But then when Christ comes, before Christ comes, they're all gone. And then after he dies, they all come back in the Middle Ages, which is why you have... There's a reason why aliens are always abducting, and fairies in the Middle Ages did the same thing. And they always appeared in glowing lights with glowing beams. It's the same story over and over again, but these are evil spirits. It's just, anyway,
He's going to get into aliens being demons, I'm sure.
About time. But the point is,
Okay,
everything's a simulation. You can't trust reality.
Okay, so we just had a friend of the show walk in, who'll be recording with us shortly. One, Siaka Masako, you guys might recognize him from Ratchet. You might recognize him from SWAT. You might recognize him from NCIS.
And
in the last 30...
You Ain't Black.
Oh, yeah, exactly. In the last 30 seconds, what do you think of all this?
I wish I was here earlier. The point that was just made about the bloodline, I literally was talking about this with my lady yesterday. We were talking about this yesterday, about alien abductions.
So people, and they're still, like, in North Korea, they still teach that, like, that humans, like from outside Korea can't breed with Asians or struggle to breed with Korean people because they're so pure and we're all corrupt dogs. They literally, if Miss Lemon's the one who told me about this cultural phenomenon, like, they're surprised when a Korean intermarries with a European person that they're able to procreate, because the way they're taught is that they're not able to do that. So that leads back to this corruption of the bloodline thing that it's a vein that runs through all of human history, because if you take a partner who's outside of your bloodline, then the infant could have bad blood and become or be a bad person. It's really just an excuse for incest.
I mean, honestly, it's just so much in there, especially like how people, oh well, it wasn't alien or it wasn't angels, it was probably aliens, and I'm like, well, that's just the connotation we use it today, right? What they called them back then.
So yeah, Sumama, you sit down at a dinner date, right, across from one of these guys, and they start talking to you about corrupting the bloodlines.
Is what they were called back then, but it still means that they were created by something, right? So whether we want to call them, this, that, and the other or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the ages call them different names, but they can still be the same thing.
I do like his hat, though. His hat is adorable.
Oh, I want to get into this.
Oh, okay. Well, look. Wait.
Siak?
Literally 5 seconds. What?
I'm just saying, I know you have the planned stuff to react to Brad Wilcox and stuff. But we could go on a crazy tirade and Siak.
Yes,
we can come back. We can come back. Yeah,
we've got a commercial break. I got a hard out coming out here in a second that I have to go to. All right. The only thing I will say is, I used to be a whole lot more critical of a lot of these things. The idea that potentially Saint Christopher being a werewolf or whatever you want to call him, that's just fine. I used to be a lot more critical of this until our friend Alejandro Jones, as you can say on YouTube and the broadcast airwaves, all right? Alejandro Jones just predicted war in Russia in February, back in October of 2021, and none of us believed Jeffrey Epstein. None of us believed that there was all these circles in Hollywood, not until they all were found out to be true. So anyway, everything's a conspiracy.
What do you mean nobody believed that? People believed that with the Epstein stuff, at least since the early 2010s, I've always heard people say, "Oh yeah, that dude's running Diddy in his freak off parties." People knew about that. We know that the problem is powerful people don't have accountability. They still don't. It's not like anything's changed. Alex Jones predicting Russia was going to invade Ukraine when they've been poised to invade Ukraine since the 90s. And they needed some leverage, and they got it. Buzzbot's still talking about Roanoke. Buzzbot's always a week behind.
Apparently, we just got to wait around to find out the truth about St. Christopher being a werewolf. Anyway.
Hold on to your trunks.
Yeah, hold on to your trunks.
Yep.
This is Midnight Mormons. We'll be back after this brief commercial break.
Yeah, well, we're not going to play your commercial, but we are going to talk about... actually, let me just pull myself back up. Okay, we are going to talk about what ancient explorers saw when they sailed away from the Arabian Peninsula. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up the map. I'm the map. All right. Here we go. Get this over here. And then we will... There we go. All right. So... writers from this area here, from the Levant to we'll say the Greek islands here, the Eastern Mediterranean, are the folks that were writing about this stuff, right? People in this area. Here's Egypt, which was also what I was saying, the stories were coming from. This was in the early day of sailing, so the Red Sea was where a lot of these people, the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, where a lot of these people were getting their water wings, so to speak, to sail out. Now, people from the Arabian Peninsula, they would have had interactions with the Horn of Africa here, right, along the coast. There was a slave trade that they had, a coastal slave trade into the Arabian Peninsula that came from down here. But when you get down into here, these people have been sailing since the Pleistocene in outrigger canoes all out here through the Comoros and the Seychelles. They hadn't settled on this island, though, on this big island right here called Madagascar, because Madagascar was controlled by the Cynocephali. Now, the Cynocephali of Madagascar can be quite a trip. Let's have a look at them and see what these spooky dudes look like. Here we go. And how they sound. Look at these creepy... These weird people. Yeah. They have dog heads and they howl like dogs, but they have human bodies. Like they can even climb a tree like a primate. But they have dog heads and they howl. But definitely have people hands. Look at they're people hands. Little squeaky toy babies. I know, right? There's a few different species. Scream, ringtail, scream. Yeah, I just want to listen to lemurs. Oh, they're so cute. See, fucker. Clucking. Now, the eye is the one that people were the most scared of because it screams in the middle of the night. I guess it's supposed to sound like a woman. Let's see. That sounded... Mouse lemur. Oh my god, they're so adorable. Those, I think mouse lemurs might be the cutest. Oh my gosh, but these guys... There's almost a pigginess to that. Mongoose lemur. Ooh, hi cutie pie. Bamboo lemur. I'm over here making my own lemur noises just about how cute these guys are. Sorry, I'll shut up. I'm just trying to talk to the lemurs and they can't even hear me. Mooing. Look at the little cow. A little moo cow. Now hearing that in the woods at night sounds pretty creepy. Red ruffed lemur alarm call loud. Brace yourself. Now that's some Cynocephali right there, right? Come on now. All right. So that's going to wrap up our section of Cryptic Corner for today with the Cynocephali, which are the dog-headed people. I think that they were stories of early sailors that went to Madagascar about an island where there were dog people that screamed and howled. And obviously, you know, this is all theoretical. There's no, there's evidence of early visits to Madagascar, but as far as establishing a settlement there, it's been it didn't happen until the first millennia CE because because the density and bizarre ecology of Madagascar actually made it pretty hard for people to adapt, and it was a completely different. They had to learn all the foods that could be eaten there because it was completely different ecology from them that they came from in. They actually came from Asia, so they weren't ready for what Madagascar had to offer necessarily. And the African people that visited the area they didn't even settle it at all, right? A lot of people are like, oh, Africa and Madagascar are right there, and they didn't even settle it, but it was because you get there and everything's foreign. You know, the foods you have and everything is foreign. You could settle it, but it would take a migration movement, which is what it was. Part of the I believe it was part of the Melanesian migration that ended up in Madagascar. But regardless, what do you think? What do you think the Cynocephali or Cynocephali or however you want to say it? I don't care how you say it. Tell me what you think it is. All right. Top Tester, thank you for sticking around. I got more show to come. We got a whole bunch more show to come. This is just the first segment. But yeah, as far as Cryptic Corner goes, please remember to be kind, take care, and we'll see you next time. All right. Don't go anywhere because this is the part of the show that I'm most looking forward to today. Because we are going to be talking about some weird stuff when we get weird with it after I come back from this short intermission. So stick around, enjoy the intermission. I have to go potty and repopulate my coffee. I'll see you then. All right, hello, my beauties and bees. Who is ready to get weird with it today? Because we've got a fun one for you coming up. Now, for today's weird topic, I did kind of a poll to see what people wanted to see. Hold on here, let me pull the poll up actually, so that you all can see what I'm talking about, and you can participate in next week's poll because I've started doing polls for the topic. That way, it gives me a little bit of variety, and there's stuff I can a selection of stuff I can already have videos ready for, and I don't have to cram like the night before. When did this poll start? There it is. Weird with it. 125. Let's just go to it. All right. So here we go. All right, let's have a look here. So this was the poll. Okay, so weird with it for 125. We're in pyrokinesis at home. That's the art of controlling fire with your brain, in case you didn't know, right? There is freaking orbs in 2025. It's 2025, and we are still having people submitting photos of orbs as evidence of supernatural phenomena. Then we have those psychic spies where we will talk, and whenever this comes up, we will talk about like the CIA remote viewing experiments and all that tasty stuff. And then the last option was Cabbage babies, which is a return to Tartaria. My audience does love when I cover these Tartarian stories. The Orphan Train video did pretty well, actually, all things considered. So this is kind of a spin-off of that. And I thought since I was doing a spin-off of that, I'd go back to one of my Mud Flood channels and see what they had on the Cabbage Patch babies. Let's go. Oh, crud. Actually, I gotta Mind Unveiled. We've been here before. They do a lot of Tartarian mud flood stuff. But the thing that's concerning is that they have 319K subscribers, and this video has 279K views. Meanwhile, me trying to shed some like actual light on this have, you know, not any shade to you guys at all. I have 30 some viewers and less than 1,500 subscribers. So we could fix that, because this kind of stuff, the people promoting this stuff should not be doing so much better than the people out here trying to debunk it. Ooh. Let me get out my guitar. Mud Flood. Mind Unveiled. If you want to use that for your intro, hit me up, Mind Unveiled. Mind Unveiled. We can have
World Photoshop. We began to notice a trend with old postcards from the 1900s showing early examples of compositing. There isn't much information on these. If there's a catalog, it's not easy to come by. But many of these are early examples of photo manipulation. They had surreal real photo postcards, in which they would attempt to trick people with the illusion of photography. As we continued to look through these old postcards, a very strange and unsettling trend started to become apparent.
Babies!
It began with just simple baby postcards.
You mean people that like pictures of babies doing silly things that babies wouldn't really do? That babies doing adult stuff, babies growing out of plants like fruit, babies working on farms and stuff, or it's cute because babies can't really do that.
At first thought, seems like any ordinary postcard. But as with the Same Sky postcard mystery, where the author began to see a trend of a variety of postcards, well,
the music gets eerie. Mind Unveiled.
There's a category of postcards that deserves its own name and label, but it doesn't seem very well known.
Ooh,
As
getting creepier.
there are
But
no websites or videos explaining this topic.
go out there and start hawking these, Sumami. This is definitely, you can vibe with these.
We shall call it the mystery of the repopulation postcards. There are other names for this style.
The repopulation after the last reset, to make it clear what he's talking about here. If you aren't familiar with Tartaria, if this is your first time in the Hive, it is a conspiracy theory that there was a golden age where everything was like all flowers and rainbows until the fall, and it came with the mud floods in 1776, our timeline, right? And that's when our timeline began. It flooded over everything, and we rediscovered North America, and like the buildings, the old architecture and stuff is all stuff that we've dug out of the flood, of the mud. That's why there's basement windows and stuff, I guess. Really, really weird flexes that these people have. They don't, the concept of earth filling around a construction site, around a building or whatever, the idea of building up around the base of a structure to build a road next to it, for instance, is totally lost on these people. They think, oh, well, there was a lower level and now it's under dirt, so that means the mud flood, not that they backfilled it after they put the road in, because that's how you build a road in an urban area. But whatever.
Such as baby postcards, By the end of this video, you'll be shocked at how many of these there are.
I know, it's adorable, but yeah, exactly. Them cooking in pots, them hanging in baskets like flowers, them in wheelbarrows. It's cute. That's the idea. It's cute.
We're talking in the thousands. We found one reference to what these cards were in a book on Amazon named Babylon, Surreal Babies, in which the author describes these same peculiar 1900s postcards and how they were deeply influential to many famous artists, including Salvador Dali. Yet, the author even admits that little is known of their history.
Those are literally kids playing a potato sack race. What's the problem here? Kids actually, this was a activity that people participated in at the time frame. I know we don't play potato sack races very much now, except for like at summer camp or summer camp games and things like that.
In order to understand why we've labeled them repopulation postcards, a thorough understanding of resets, Tartaria, orphan trains, incubators, asylums, and oddfellows will be necessary. These cards depict babies being grown.
Because it's cute. It also depicts them being boiled in pots and driving sports cars. Come on now.
There are many different styles within this category. One of the most interesting is the Cabbage Patch Babies. Variety of themes involving growing babies.
Cabbage Patch Babies. So I was born in 1983. When during the year of the Cabbage Patch Baby riots, or Cabbage Patch Doll riots. I don't know who's old enough to remember that. I was just born that year, and I think about half my audience is older than me and half my audience is younger than me. But regardless, this was the toy to have in the early 1980s for Christmas everywhere. It was not surpassed until the Tickle Me Elmo in was it 95. And then Furbies, of course, also had quite a boom. But Cabbage Patch Kids are the first one that's taken place in my lifetime. Keep showing the same ones over and over again. Are there really not enough for you to fill in this time with your music playing? Because I mean, you could just shorten that down. It doesn't make a very good case that this is a phenomenon if you only have a handful of cards that represent what you're talking about. What's like? You could put a different musical track over this though, like some happy music, and it would be completely change the vibe. The only reason this seems creepy is because he's making it seem creepy with the music.
Babies on plants.
Mm-hmm.
Babies on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Babies in the water.
I bet you could find pictures of puppies doing the similar stuff too. Or does that mean puppies came from Cabbage Patches as well? Cabbage pie. That doesn't sound very good. What's in cabbage pie? Is that like a real thing? Challenge accepted. Oh, John and Sumami are gonna have a smoke off. Where and when? Is this gonna be on your channel, Sumami? I want to watch. Who's paying for your all's ounces though? I sure as hell am not. You'll have to procure your own ounces for this challenge.
Babies in a nest.
Storks! You gonna bring up the storks?
Babies in eggs being hatched. Then the babies arrive on the train.
You're creating a story with random postcards. Like, surely you see that, right? You're building the narrative by putting a series of postcards together and saying this is a story now. He blurred out their little butts. Oh my gosh, they're babies. Are baby butts like off limits on YouTube? Probably, but Bunny. Yeah, what? Driving sports cars
There's
there.
something eerie about
Is
these photos.
butterflies.
As if someone's trying to tell us something.
Yeah, if you're conspiracy brain, someone's trying to tell you something.
We've also got kids in Cabbage Patches. Does this have anything to do with the Cabbage Patch Kids? So where do babies come from?
Here we go.
In the early 1900s, the most common answer given to children would simply be that the stork would bring the babies, or that they were found in a cabbage patch. But why would babies be found in cabbage patches? The legend of the Cabbage Patch Kids involves a young boy named Xavier who meets a mystical fairy bunny bee creature. So a hybrid or chimera.
And this was just the marketing storyline to tie all to tie the toy line together and give it a narrative for the Cabbage Patch Kids. Maybe they were based off these postcards. The idea of babies being grown in Cabbage Patch and delivered by storks has long been a cute way of explaining to small children who aren't ready to understand the sexual components of reproduction. It's been a way to explain it to these children for centuries.
And he follows this bunny bee through a secret tunnel behind a waterfall. On the other side of this waterfall, he finds that babies are being produced in a cabbage patch. The stork, known as Colonel Casey, would then come and pick up the babies. He even has his own uniform. So he's a worker, a soldier, as well.
Looks like the Vlasic pickle stork. So he grows cabbage and cucumbers, and he pulls babies out of the cabbage and he makes pickles out of the cucumbers.
As the Cabbage Patch Kids' official historian that would then deliver the babies to their new homes. Not only that, but there's an evil witch named Lavender McDay. She and her weasel and jackrabbit henchmen are literally trying to enslave the Cabbage Patch Kids to be miners to dig for gold in the valley.
Are there dolls of those
all the
characters?
exposition for the
Are there dolls of the bad guys? They looked kind of cool. The John with the jackrabbit. He was pretty menacing looking. Look at that. The weasel and the jackrabbit. Maybe that's is that Maya and Dr. Tapioca Weasel?
Kids to be miners to dig for gold in the valley. You can get all the exposition for the lore in the story through their 10-song album. It goes over how they were created, to the witch, to even a lament about their enslavement. It's pretty dark. The original concept for the cloth dolls was created by Martha Nelson Thomas, and she called them doll babies. And the story really had nothing to do with cabbages or chimeras or witches. It wasn't until Xavier Roberts, or Xavier, like the little boy in the story.
That's kind of crazy that this is the guy behind Cabbage Patch Dolls, behind the whole lore and stuff. He inserted himself into the Cabbage Patch Doll lore.
Hijacked her design that it became what it is today. So I can't help but wonder if Xavier Roberts just came up with the story all on his own. Like, did it come to him from the collective consciousness? Or does he just have a soft spot for...
Well, I imagine he's like, okay, so we got this doll design. How do we pitch this? Well, we're giving babies to little kids. Little kids think babies are delivered by the stork. Where does the stork get the babies? From the Cabbage Patch. Oh, Cabbage Patch babies. Cabbage Patch Kids. How's that sound? Yeah.
Child labor. There's actually a place you can go in White County, Georgia, where they do live births, and you can look it up on YouTube to see what I'm talking about. The bunny bee character also is a hybrid creature of two animals that both symbolize rebirth and resurrection on a mass scale. As we know,
how does a bee represent rebirth or resurrection. Bees usually represent, like symbolically. And there's a lot of things bees do represent. Community, industriousness, hard work. I guess they do represent rebirth and the idea that they're out in the spring when the flowers are blooming, so they're part of the flowers' reproductive process. Okay, I'll go with that. That's how their rebirth is, that they're carrying the gametes for the flowers. Okay, I will seed that.
No, rabbits reproduce in droves, and the bee symbolism makes me think of a hive or queen or source.
Oh, it's what it makes you think of personally, not what the actual folkloric symbolism it means.
Where all the offsprings originate from. It would seem that this is some sort of reference to babies being created in a lab on a mass scale. Why were there so many
on a
orphans?
mass scale?
Most common answer will be, the baby boom. But this didn't happen until 1946 to 1964.
There's been more than one baby boom. There's been more than one baby boom in the last few centuries. I mean, there was a baby boom after the Industrial Revolution, right? There was a baby boom. There was a immigration boom to the United States in the late 19th century because of Irish immigrants who were being starved out in their homeland and looking for opportunity elsewhere. So a lot of immigrants showed up in the U.S. ports on the east at this time.
These postcards are from 1890 to 1910, and there's really no explanation for the burst of orphans that we see being brought into the United States, or the amount of orphanages and asylums that exist that no longer seem to be necessary.
It followed a population boom in the late 19th century. Yeah, high rates of abandoned children are going to increase with population and decrease with increase with immigration as well. But
the baby boom narrative be a way to sweep this part of history under the rug? The orphanages were all shut down, and after the 60s, people just stopped having babies and getting married after World War II, according to the narrative. Then there were
so the orphanages were not shut down not in the 1910s. No, because there's still orphanages today. Just orphanages are now not considered a good fit for raising young children, right? They're not considered a working model for producing healthy members of society. But yeah, the Catholics again are responsible for like 90% of the orphanages. I read some statistics on that when I was looking up the orphan train stuff on that last video. But yeah, most of the orphans are in the hands of the church.
Incubators of 1900s.
And the church won't let people adopt those orphans unless they're a heterosexual couple.
It's difficult to keep premature babies alive with modern technology, yet they were doing this back in 1835 in Europe. They turned this into a sideshow, where at the world fairs they would show off these child hatcheries, these incubators of live children. And for some reason...
Yeah, before this, premature children just died. Before this, and that's another thing that comes into play for why there are so many children that are surviving now, because there was the medical advancements during this time period in childbirth. Before this, premature babies would die before these machines were invented. I would have died. I was a premature baby. I weighed 6 pounds. I was a little thing. I would have died. I was in an incubator for the first 5 days of my life, and I had jaundice, so that helps too. So why was there a sudden population boom and the number of children in the world when modern medicine was becoming a thing. That's such a weird thing that you even have to, it's so weird that you even have to ask that.
The royals would come and witness these events. So there's...
Because it was a marvel of modern medicine. Before that, tiny babies like that, those little bitty babies that were the size of a beer can, didn't survive. You could not see a child that small alive. You could not see a baby that small alive. And now there were machines that could keep that baby alive like it was still inside its mother's womb until it was strong enough to take care of it, or to not take care of itself, but to survive outside. It was a miracle. People were showing up in droves to see Wick instead of workhouse, exactly. But people were fascinated by this technology. Preemie babies that were alive. I mean, we've been burying these little guys for as long as there's been humans, and now all of a sudden they can live and survive. People had to before that, the baby would come out alive and they had to sit there and hold it and just kind of give it the best they can until it died. And that was sad, but now we can save them. Now you can see them. You can see their little hands moving. You can see them, and they're staying alive. It's wonderful. Okay? Better nutrition, not only for newborns, but pregnant person before they had, like, prenatal care was becoming a thing at this time. Like, actual medical prenatal care. Before that, they did have, like, midwives and stuff, but there was a lot of superstition involved with that. Right? People didn't stop smoking while they were pregnant until like after the 1950s, though. So people were smoking away.
This genetic manipulation cloning idea, in which these babies are actually being grown in some sort of pods, perhaps the symbolism of the Cabbage Patch mirrors that process.
Look at all them titties.
These do resemble plants in the way that we're
holy shit
with stem and our fetal
this is just
and our whole.
Oh, we got to go back because there was just titties all over the place.
In which these babies are actually being grown in some sort of
titties.
Pods.
Look at all these titties. That person has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 titties. Got some titties here, titties there, titties everywhere, and I think that salmon eggs look like titties, but I'm not feeling that vibe. I mean, no more than eyeballs resemble titties. These look more like I would say they resemble grapes. It is kind of interesting that gametes are always spherical, though, like that. Or gametes always produce an egg that's spherical. Kind of supports
perhaps the symbolism of the Cabbage Patch mirrors that process. Humans do
more
resemble
titties.
Plants in the way that we're connected to a stem
more
in the
titties.
fetal state, and our whole lives are spent ripening. In the fetal abduction theory, we typically see a nurse-looking woman with either a fishing hook or a fishing...
Fetal abduction. This is just another symbolic thing about catching... These were like basically like adoption ads is what I'm seeing here. Like this is like, come adopt these cute babies. We have babies that need homes. There's been a baby boom because, technology and immigration, and now we have extra babies with nobody to take care of them. Grape nitties. Nitty never gets up early enough to catch life from the hive.
Net pulling a child out of the water. Perhaps the hook and net represent medical tools and the water amniotic fluid.
It's a metaphor that says, hey, we are overflowing with babies. We got babies coming out our ears. You want a baby? Look, it's like fishing in a well-stocked pond. Here's a metaphor for it. It's like they're growing right off the vine. Look at this. And this is a Christmas card.
Either scenario, it would make sense that these babies have to end up in incubators or hatcheries. And it begs the question, how did all these premature babies
Yeah, that was actually...
hatcheries?
This picture here is actually a good indication of what we're talking about with the medical advancements, right? This is all these different milk dispensing units, different kinds of bottles. They got different names on them. So innovating ways to feed an infant without access to its mother's milk, and creating baby formula and things like that allow more children to survive.
And it begs the question, how did all these premature babies get here? If women back in, these days were having babies prematurely, why in such large numbers?
Yeah, I imagine that would be horrifying, Hollyhock. How heartbreaking it was to not be able to produce enough breast milk to sustain a baby. Exactly. That's why there was all these innovations and so many more surviving infants. They want to know why. It's right there.
And the babies all being babies, they'd have to have traveled there somehow within a short period of time. What are the chances that so many premature babies were driven from wherever their mothers were to these incubators all in time?
No, it was the Hippocratic oath that that a doctor would take care of a patient and sustain their life with any means possible, even if the parents couldn't afford it. And the option was give your baby over to these mad scientists. Sure. Mad scientists that are creating incubators, or let your baby die. And then the baby needs someone to care for it after that. And the parents, of course, in those situations, normally would have been burying that child instead of it being put into the orphanage system. So that's what we're dealing with here.
And why do they charge people to view them, as if this was some sort of exhibition?
Because incubators don't pay for themselves, Deborah.
Or a sideshow, and not a pressing matter of life and death.
Because incubators don't pay for themselves, Deborah. Seriously. Why do they do fundraising asking why healthcare agency and pre-FDR timeline is doing fundraising efforts using it's what you got. You work with what you got. Yeah, we have baby incubators, this new invention here where preemie babies can now survive. Come see them. It's only a quarter.
For centuries, the stork has been thought of as a symbol for new beginnings and family lineage. The idea that this creature represents life-giving events also makes sense because storks are monogamous creatures, and they mate only once every year with their partners that they've chosen beforehand, choosing mates based solely on personality instead of looks.
That's like Zodiac style woo right there, that cranes judge on personality. Birds generally, I wanted to paint all birds with one brush because some of them do crafting. It's generally crafting skills, dancing skills, things like that birds look for in a mate. The male, it has to do the finessing. That's why the males are more colorful, so that they're bright and more eye-catching, and they are even brighter when you look at it through the eyes of a bird they see so many more colors than we do, or so many more spectrums of light than we do, to see like a bowerbird building its beautiful structure, or a bird of paradise doing its wild dance. That's what birds generally choose. It's not could you say it's a personality thing? I don't know. Maybe if someone's dance skills or construction skills are part of their personality, I suppose.
Like many other birds. Now we've got kids inside a train. Orphan trains. Why so many orphans? Were these orphans taken from their families? Were they trained to instruct a new generation?
That's telekinesis, Hudson. What about the power to move you?
Of genetically created babies? Or were they womb-napped babies?
Womb-napped.
Kids growing on trees. Kids being carried by storks. The Greek goddess Hera and her Roman counterpart Juno also favor the stork. And I'm sure you guys remember that quirky little teen pregnancy movie from the 2000s. And I suspect that Artemis of Ephesus is an ancient fertility symbol.
You suspect? Deborah, come on now. I don't know her name. I'm just calling her Deborah for fun, but...
by the elite to signify their ability to reseed a new population. So we've got hooks removing babies. Kids in the water with a woman holding a net or fishing rod. The water, the amniotic fluid.
So Oh, so you're accepting symbolism here, but when it comes to cabbages, it's real?
Pulling children from the wombs of their mothers, perhaps? Could that be why there are so many premature babies? Or are they genetically manipulated? Cloning is not impossible. Just look at Miracle Millie. I think that the movie Aeon Flux is a great example. Hollywood is definitely alluding to this reality of artificial repopulation. The Cabbage Patch Kids sort of reminds me of those medieval occult books that depict humans growing from roots in the ground.
We're just using mandrake and homunculus technology. You know, we did a video on mandrakes on CrypticCorner a little while ago. You know, they tie these poor dogs to the mandrake because when the mandrake comes out, it's supposed to scream and kill whoever pulled it out. Like the scream kills them, so they make the dog do it.
Or mandrakes, which are known to have occult properties for making one go insane.
Babies are also ready to join their elite clubs, and they're even given top hats. Technology, clothes, and empty cities. Babies floating in on boats, all signifying children being born.
I know this song.
And then taken.
This used to be my Hive science background. It's like Danger something. Like Danger Snow is the name of this song. It's like one of the free songs on the YouTube song royalty free list, and I used to use it as my intro like way long time ago, back in like 2020.
And by the mother, the one with the basket. Yet this is a figure that represents the government's function as a mother. A corporate operation of generating
the government out there womb napping, because that's how the government works.
In order to fill their newly emptied and burned cities with new humans. Whoever made these postcards are trying to tell us something very dark about the world we live in, as if it's humorous. There's an extraordinary amount of work put into these early photo manipulations. One would think there should be a good resource for these old postcards, but they are rare and difficult to find. Babies with hats. Babies in the empty cities. Babies with new technology. Babies in the classroom. Babies being brought in boats. And babies
smoking
being
hookahs
in a variety of different situations. Is this some type of clever reference to the cloning of humans? We know of the sudden rise in orphans during the 1800s, but where do they all come from? Where do babies come from? All we can hope is that our minds may be unveiled.
Let go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind and ask the question, do I truly understand what this reality is?
Mind unveiled. That was me at the end there. So, again, if you want me to do voice work for you, mind unveiled, just reach out and I can give you some mind unveiled. But you know, you'd think you watch something like this, right? And you think, oh my gosh, how could anybody actually believe that this is a real phenomena? This is just obviously someone writing like speculative fiction or something, but there are plenty of channels out there where this is taken seriously. Check this out.
Yo, how many times have you heard that babies came from a cabbage patch or a stork? Yo, how many times have you heard that babies came from a cabbage patch or a stork, right? These are old tales that our parents used to tell us when we were younger, or our grandparents. And if you go and ask any old person right now where they actually came from, a lot of them will tell you that they were orphans. Or that they came from a cabbage, or that they came from a stork. So, is there really any significance to this whole Cabbage Patch idea? In today's video, we'll be looking at the interesting facts on Cabbage Patch children and if it was an actual thing.
I know what you're thinking. How did I end up in this situation?
Oh boy.
Trust me, it's not an easy story to tell. And honestly, most of you won't believe me. But what if I told you that babies come from cabbages? Yeah, I know. Wild, right? I thought the same thing until my buyers,
here we go,
as you call them, told me the truth. Now I get it. It's a hard story to swallow. But if you stick with me, I'll tell you everything.
Okay.
Well, I guess we have to go back to the beginning.
I'm gonna speed you up, though.
You see, a long time ago, ancient alchemists stumbled upon the secret of how to birth babies from cabbages. This magic was regarded as the greatest secret.
So, ancient alchemists, we'll start there, that look like religious cardinals.
Using the Philosopher's Stone, they were able to find a new way to give birth through the sacred cabbage.
Sacred
Why
cabbage.
you might ask? Well, rumor has it that they thought it looked like a baby's head. Makes some sort of sense, right? These cabbages were engineered to grow humans.
Does that make sense? Because you think something looks like a baby's head, that you should use it to grow a baby head?
I guess you could say I'm a homunculus. Actually, we all are. But the new church couldn't let that kind of power stay in the hands of a few alchemists. No, they wanted the cabbage secret for themselves.
Oh no, the church, the new church. I guess that's probably the Catholics, maybe? Wanted control over the sacred cabbage.
So they destroyed the alchemists, wiped them out. After that, the new church was in control of the cabbage knowledge and its power.
Yeah, it looks like. So the new church is the Catholic Church, which they believe was established in 1776 and rewrote history with Freemasons and all kinds of nonsense.
To grow their own army, cabbage-born, loyal, and ready to serve.
Are you... Forget about Dragonborn. Are you one of the Cabbage-born?
Around this time, something else was happening. A reset.
A reset?
The ancient world, filled with advanced civilizations, was falling apart. Floods, earthquakes, whole cities buried under mud. Some say it was due to
the mud flood!
Certain groups' affiliation with black magic. Others think it was just nature taking its course.
The Catholics doing black magic caused the mud flood.
So do y'all think it's black magic or nature taking its course? I don't know. That's a hard one to think about, you know, because like when we think about Tartaria and the old world, we think about like these mud floods and no people being there, right? So they were just wiped out. Now, if this was some type of black magic, it's starting to make sense, you know, because that's probably what happened. You know, they decided to.
Is it starting to make sense to you there, friend? Is it starting to pan out? Because is it making observations and predictions?
Flood this world. Is like, no, we're gonna flood it, and then they start sending their missionaries out to the world to see what was left there. Who was left? What was left? You know, could have been later, hundreds of years, 50 years, 20 years. I don't know the time frame, but they sent them out, and that's when they start seeing who was around.
Whatever the reason, these incredible cities were destroyed and emptied out. Massive floods of mud buried many of the cities deep beneath the ground, only leaving the ruins of a once great age. After the reset, the church sent out its minions to scavenge what remained of those ancient cities. They explored the ruins, documenting everything. This became known as the Founding. The history we're taught today? Yeah, it's all a lie. Across the world, even in the United States, these cities weren't being built. They were being literally founded. The new church rewrote history, hiding the truth of advanced civilizations from this.
So you get digging the cities out of the mud. Right back to where we started with the mud flood stuff.
New population. They had to program the first set of orphans through the schooling system. And these orphans weren't just any children. They were the chosen ones, handpicked to become the elites of the new age. They were initiated into secret brotherhoods.
With the top hats, we did the top hats too. So we covered the. I think Mind Unveiled was actually that's the last thing we did on this channel was talk about the top hats. So he has a conspiracy about the top hats too, just to keep you in the loop.
For this knowledge of the reset and Freemasonry would be carefully guarded. These orphan brotherhoods began to clean up these cities, raise the streets, and create what we now know as downtowns. Many of these buildings were still buried, and there was a complete underground portion of the city that would be unknown to the general public.
This is what I was talking about, urbanization.
They needed to fill
They don't understand that you have to, like, when you build a road through, you have to backfill. So sometimes the first floor becomes the basement, the level 1 basement, when you put a new road system running through.
These empty ghost cities with people. These first orphans were infertile and didn't even know what sex was. But within the brotherhoods, they were entrusted with one crucial secret. The knowledge of the sacred cabbage. Crazy, right? I didn't believe it either until my parents, buyers.
If they were infertile, are all cabbage babies infertile? Am I a cabbage baby? I was in an incubator, and I was in 1983, the baby boom, or the Cabbage Patch boom, I guess, when Cabbage Patch dolls became a thing.
Showed me these old postcards. These postcards are very real, and apparently, these Masonic orphans kept them as a way to keep truth hidden in plain sight. But it actually gets even darker than that. I was told that these postcards were advertisements, a means to sell babies. During this early post-reset era, the new church needed more minions. What started small turned into a full-scale operation. Babies were grown in cabbages on massive farms. This was how they repopulated the empty cities. Couples would come to the farms and pick out their favorite baby from the cabbage patch. They didn't really see these babies as their own, but instead they were merely products.
Is there some kind of let's not be inappropriate. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll be friends.
It became a cultural phenomenon to purchase babies, and they were sold on the streets, in carts, at shopping centers, and even at world fairs. These fairs were repurposed ancient buildings that were used to display ancient advanced technology.
So they weren't sold at the World Fair. They were displayed at the World Fair. The incubators were as new technology. It was that's generally where new technology was promoted was at World Fairs for a long time. They didn't have the internet. You had to do a World Fair exhibit and show your inventions and hope somebody would come on board to one of these rich people that come through would come on board to finance your patent so you could have production of your product, and baby incubators were one of these things.
And they would show off the incubator babies. These incubator babies were cabbage babies that had still not fully developed, and this tech was used to speed up the birthing process.
So I'm pretty sure I'm a cabbage baby at this point. Explains so much. That explains so much. I'm a cabbage baby.
People from around the world would come to see the spectacle and to even purchase one of these incubator babies. Some babies were even...
Well, the incubator babies would have been mostly... I shouldn't say mostly. Would have. It's not improbable that they would have been a lot of orphans. Because who else are they going to... most parents aren't going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go display my baby at the World Fair. But if, there's a lot of orphans that are surviving this preemie state now with this new technology, let's show it off. And then and seeing preemie babies, because they're so tiny and little and people think that's adorable, people would want to adopt them. So it was a win-win. And yeah, they charged money for this. Again, they're financing the technology through the exhibition.
Been sent over in the mail. Delivery men would bring these fresh babies right to your door.
That's crazy. They had Amazon babies back in the day. They probably had 2-day shipping too.
Not only that, but you could also have a stork deliver a baby right to your window. It was pretty wild times.
You could have a stork deliver a baby right to your window. Like, that's actually a thing that did happen, right? This guy's just... And the fellow... The reason I picked this video to watch is not so much about this over here, but about him over here just taking it at face value that I want you to focus on. He just, believes it. He's like, yeah, this is the thing that's happening.
These storks would care for the babies on the cabbage patches. And when the time was right, they would be delivered accordingly to their appropriate families. Some say that the storks were deliverymen, but others insist that these storks have been participating in this practice since ancient times. But as you can guess, things didn't stay simple.
Ancient cabbage babies and storks, come on.
There were too many babies. They started repopulating cities on the East Coast, but those filled up way too fast. It was the industrial age, and the cabbage farms were pumping out babies for the factories. These poor cabbage-born children were put straight to work. These miners...
Now, kids were put to work, even... the orphan trains that we talked about before. It was a lot of that was people would adopt a baby to work on their farm. They would adopt a child to raise on their farm. It was a dark time. I mean, there were no child labor laws to speak of. It was the ethics of the employer. And yeah, if the kid was big enough to carry a shovel.
Were also miners in mining operations.
Sumami, are you also one of the cabbage born like I?
It's a sad truth that these cabbage babies were taken advantage of. Meanwhile, the elite orphans, the ones in the secret brotherhood, were busy cleaning up cities on the west coast, preparing them for the next batch of the population. That's when the cabbage trains started rolling in. Trains,
orphan trains,
sent from the east to the west, ready to fill up the newly founded cities. Some of these babies were even left to fend for themselves, dropped off in the middle of a city with no clue what to do next. Now I know what you're probably thinking.
That kind of stuff is true. I mean, kids were just abandoned on the streets. In these in the 19th century, in the late 19th century. It was a problem. People were not. I don't say people were not as ethical, but there was no person on top keeping people ethical. That's always been my thing. Oh my gosh, you're gonna get me bitching about libertarians. That's always been my thing about because this is a libertarian world, right? Where there's no regulations for like children, and you can sell children, and you can put them to hard labor. You can adopt a baby with the intentions of marrying her when she grows up. You can do that on your lonely farm. And yeah, maybe you get a little excited and don't want to wait for her to grow up, whatever. That kind of shit is what was happening frequently and disgustingly during this time period. Yeah, moved to workhouses and things like that. Workhouses, orphanages, labor farms, yeah.
Why? Why would they go through all this trouble? What's the point? The truth is, history isn't what we've been told. There are secrets. Secrets about ancient civilizations, magic, and the creation of cabbage babies. If people knew the truth, it would unravel the world as we know it. So after the repopulation phase...
And yeah, if you didn't watch the Orphan Train episode, you should go back and watch that, because we talked about that in more detail about that time period and the way these children were treated. I didn't know this was going to cover so much into that. I kind of watch this. I watch these beforehand, but I try not to absorb too much of it so I can have live reactions for you. I just watch to make sure there's nothing like super problematic that's going to pop up, but I didn't realize this was going to go so much into the orphan trains. But we did a video on the orphan trains. They actually interviewed, we watched an interview that they did in the 80s of one of these orphan train kids when she was super old, but talking about what happened in her life and how her and her brother were separated and things.
The church kicked off a massive propaganda campaign to teach us a new fake history. If we knew that we came from cabbages, well, many would not be able to handle that sort of truth. So we ignore it.
No.
Over time, infertility...
I am the cabbage baby. I'm a cabbage baby.
It was cured. The cabbage babies never stopped being produced.
You know, this is crazy because like infertility is a real thing amongst certain people.
Infertility is real, so that means that cabbage babies are real. Dude!
They really struggle having children. So if this is a thing that's going on now, I could just imagine what was going on back in the day with their struggles. If Cabbage Patch children are real.
They're not though.
And the techniques became far more advanced.
They clone Tyrone. Yo!
This is still done in secret, in underground factories, for reasons that cannot be fully explained. But fortunately, there are some cabbage babies that remember. They remember the history of how we got here. Thankfully, many are beginning to wake up.
So I could totally go on a grift that I am a cabbage baby born in the Cabbage Patch boom of 1983. I am here and I have arrived via stork to my parents. I could grift that to the Tartarians and actually maybe make some real money. I mean, not that I don't make money here, but you see the numbers of viewers you get when you take this nonsense seriously. Like 27.8K subscribers for the, I don't know if that's the Lux family or the Luxe family. 288 comments, 300K views in a month if I switch over to grifting Tartarian people. Why do I have to have morals?
And all we can hope is that one day, our minds will be unveiled.
Let go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind. And
He's
ask the
watching
question,
Mind Unveiled
do
too.
I truly understand what this reality is?
You drink the same Kool-Aid as Deborah.
Yo, Cabbage Patch children. Just think about it. They had the Cabbage Patch babies, which was like a thing. Everyone loved little Cabbage Patch babies when they came out. Maybe they were just trying to tell us something. Like, who comes up with the idea that babies grow from cabbage? Out of all things, you could have said, let it say it. You say cabbage. There's got to be some meaning to that. I'm just saying. There's got to be. There's no reason that they would say that and there not be no meaning to it. But yeah, guys, this is one of the most creepy videos I've seen in a long time. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. Turn your notification bells on. And until next time, YouTube, peace.
Yeah, like, so what else do you cover? I've never looked into this channel too much, but let's see. This is shocking and spiritual TikToks that will make you question reality. a lot of spirituality stuff, it looks like. And Tartarian stuff. Yeah. But apparently he's it's one of those family channels too. I hope they don't like grift off their children. I hate that. I hate when people make content off their kids, especially when they make content off abusing their kids, like Dado 5 or whatever, Daddy 05. That guy. That was awful. All right. So, what do you guys think about the Cabbage Patch Babies? Is that a real phenomena? Is Bree a Cabbage Patch baby? Did I come from a Cabbage Patch? Did I get delivered by a stork? Is that real? Did I ride on an orphan train? The truth. Yep, the truth is out there. Yeah, the amount of dumb people make me question the tap water. Here, Jason. Family. This is a family channel. Yeah, isn't that wild? That it's... Oh no, I lost my camera. Did I? I think because I bumped my table. Oh. Anyhow. As far as... Yeah, I could have come from a honeycomb. That would be cute. Yeah. All right. But I just want to know, I mean, as far as Cabbage Patch Babies go, what do you think? I need commentary. I need y'all to interact. I need people to comment on the video when this goes on Weird With It on it's gonna be a while out, but on Wednesdays. I need answers. I need to know if anybody else is a Cabbage Patch baby who remembers the reset, or if I'm all alone as the lone Cabbage Patch baby rememberer to have memory of being a Cabbage Patch baby in the orphan train. Yeah. So Tartarians, I'm your new messiah, I guess. I'm the messiah of Tartaria. So come and hit the subscribe button. Join the Patreon, because that is where you'll find the truth. All right. Remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, don't leave Live from the Hive audience, because I have another segment coming up where we're going to talk. It's a shorter segment, but we're going to wrap it up with some Breeze Bestiary in just a moment. So I will be back with you momentarily. Hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Bree's Bestiary, where we pick an animal and discuss its history, its evolution, its folklore, whatever is interesting and correlates with the human experience of this animal in our environment. Today I'm going to pick one of our domesticated friends, because today we are going to look at the history of the canary and canary keeping. So I'll read this through first. It's just a short little blog thing about it, and then we'll watch some videos. But as with most good stories, the one about the origins of canary keeping is most likely not true. The tale says that Jean de Bethencourt, a Frenchman married to a Canary Island native, completely fell in love with the music of the canaries as he worked on his farm and in his fishing boat. His love for the song was so great that he decided to catch and cage the bird, keeping them as a pet. He soon realized that he could make some income by selling these little birds to the Spanish sailors, who would then ship them back to Spain to an eager public. Even if the story of Jean isn't fully true, it still retains a bit of truth. Spanish sailors first brought canaries to Spain back in the 15th century. They soon proved to be very popular among the general public. When Spain conquered and claimed the Canary Islands in the 1500s, the trade boomed. The popularity of these birds was so big that by the 16th century, they were already being bred on the Spanish mainland, and the birds were being traded with Italy and Switzerland, with monasteries holding a monopoly on the canary business. Rabbits, too, and goldfish. Monasteries are where a lot of domestication happens. As money-minded as the modern-day entrepreneur, the monks would only sell male birds. This was because the male birds were the best singers, which is what the public wanted, but it also meant that no canary breeding was going on outside the monastery walls. The pet canaries of this time sported the standard green and yellow plumage of the wild birds, green and brown in the females. The modern, more colorful versions of canaries were a phenomena of later centuries. It was the Italians who managed to break the canary monopoly, managing to get their hands on female birds and beginning a selective breeding that started the trend towards a wide range of canary colors, varieties available today. The birds spread outward from Italy rather than Spain on trading routes across Europe. Harz canary. Right. Although being originally limited to the royal and aristocratic households of Europe, by the 19th century, they were a common sight in many households across the social strata. The most famous breeding area of the time was the Harz Mountains in Germany, with canary peddlers from this region selling birds all across the world. Ow. Sorry. The speciality of this region was the Harz rollers, also known as the Harz mountain rollers. This particular bird was renowned for its particularly wonderful singing. Up until this day, it is still the most popular canary in the world. These birds, along with flocks from the Black Forest, Bavaria, Zwaben, and Liege, Belgium, were in great demand, even amongst the most cash-strapped working-class people. People like this would often save up for an entire year just to be able to buy one of these little birds. In the 19th century Holland, a single canary would cost more than a man earned in a week. Pure yellow birds sported the highest price tag, well beyond the reach of the standard peasant's pocket. One of the earliest and most notable enthusiasts for canaries was Queen Elizabeth I of England. She reigned from 1570 to 1605. This is what we call the Elizabethan era. of English and English colonies, including the Americas at this time, where would have been, at least North America would have been in its Elizabethan era, who had an entire team of royal canary keepers to assist her in the hobby. These canaries lived on the road, traveling from market to market all across Europe. They would be kept in small cages strapped to a frame on the back of an itinerant peddler. The massed song of the approaching birds was one of the most famous and welcoming sounds of the fairs and markets of Europe. These canary peddlers would often stay a few nights in each town, putting up advertisements for their birds and waiting for the customers to come to them. Today, there are tens of millions of pet canaries kept in households all across the world. Their popularity boils down to a combination of three main assets: their ability to breed easily, even in unpromising environments, a diverse gene pool which allows many shapes and colors to be bred, and probably the most well-known asset, their beautiful singing. The songs would be and still are a common sound in many households. The tale of the Frenchman Jean de Bethencourt, see History of Canary Keeping above, is not the only folklore attracted to these little folklore. Should be attracted to these little birds. Okay. Anyway, it is said that that the Italian island of Elba used to have a thriving population of wild canaries. It is said that they all arrived from the Spanish ships that had shipwrecked off the Italian coast on its way to Port Livorno, Tuscany. The sailors took pity on their cargo of birds and decided to release them. From Elba, again, that should be from, not form, but from Elba, some of these birds did the 20-kilometer flight to the Italian mainland and were the origins of those ever so important female Italian canaries that enabled the first non-monastic breeding program to kick off. Despite this being a nice story, it's most likely as the result of some poor bird watching. Elba is in fact home to the very close related Siren, which could have easily been mistaken for a canary. Regardless of this, prior to the arrival of the prisoner Napoleon Bonaparte in 1814, the semi-mythical canaries were the most famous inhabitants of the island. Canaries in a coal mine, which we're going to get more into here in a second, but starting sometime in the mid-19th century, canaries were famously employed in coal mines as a way of testing air quality. The cage would be placed on the ground where the miners were working. If the oxygen levels were running low, the birds would feel the effect much sooner than the miners and become agitated. If the level of carbon monoxide were too low, the birds would alert the miners by simply dropping dead. That's wonderful, isn't it? It's often said that the famous Harz Mountain canaries were the first to go down the mines, but this in fact isn't the case. Miners would always take less valuable birds down with them, often ones caught in the wild. In the U.S., the use of canaries and other birds in mines was finally phased out in the 1980s after a widespread take-up of that far less beautiful substitute, carbon monoxide detectors. But here's a cute little video about it. A canary bird and a CO2 detector are used to test for the presence of carbon monoxide. 1926 U.S. Bureau of Mines film. You got some miners. Little birdie in a cage. Star of the show, and I bet it's singing so pretty and we can't even hear it because it's a silent film from 1926. These birds, in each instance, are treated and recover completely. Recover from what? Are you going to poison them? No. Anyway. So, Canary is in a coal mine.
Hello everyone, welcome to Abandoned Mines of Pennsylvania. This video is going to be on the canary in the coal mine. I had mentioned this slightly when we talked about permissible mine safety lamps, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. So the canary in the coal mine was used as a gas detection. Canary had very small lungs and was very sensitive to bad atmospheres, either explosive, extremely methane rich, or low oxygen environments. The miner would have this canary cage, usually on a timber in his working area, and as he was working, canary would be singing along, or he'd look back and he could see the canary flying around inside the cage. It has, on this side, it's a little hard to see, but there's a food trough, and then over here there's a little clay pot for water. If the canary died, the miner knew that there was a bad atmosphere and he needed to evacuate the area until ventilation could be rerouted or the atmosphere was cleared. Like I said, that was either both explosive or black damp or oxygen deficient atmospheres. One problem they did notice though with the canary is they found a few instances where miners had succumbed to an oxygen deficient atmosphere. But when they'd go in and recover, the canary would still be up on its perch.
Yeah.
Upon further investigation, they found that the canary had in fact also died. The problem is the canary would die, its claws would dig in to the small perches here, and the bird would stay upright. So as the miner would look back, he would see the bird still standing upright in the cage, and he would continue to work. The resolution for this issue was they would declaw the canaries, so that way as soon as the canary died, it would fall off the perch.
So they trim its claws back so it wouldn't stay upright after it died. Jetsam doesn't really get that close to me. She's very skittish, but Flotsam has already started trying to mimic my voice, and he dips his head and lets out a breathy ho. Aw. For people unfamiliar, Sumami's training a flock of crows to do her bidding.
A false reading on the atmosphere. Canaries were very popular in the mines all the way up until the permissible mine safety lamp had taken over, which would have been late 1800s. They were employed in both the bituminous and anthracite fields. Pretty much any mine working would have had canaries. The cages vary slightly. I've seen a few different variations. But
there's some that had like an oxygen tank.
If you guys like to see any more in-depth videos on anything that we go over on the page, just mention in the comments, and I'll try to get one together for you. Again,
it's not a flock, it's a murder. You're right. You're absolutely right. Murder of crows. What was I thinking saying flock?
I've been to both the YouTube channel and also on Facebook for Abandoned Mines of Pennsylvania, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
All right. Someone did request that we look at some singing. Now, there's actually training videos to train your canary to sing songs for you. You can like teach it to sing different tunes. by playing the video for them. But they're mostly pretty long. I did find a short one here at the beginning, though. Are you gonna sing? There we go. Well, flock is the word just for generalized birds, flock of birds. But when you get down to the specifics, they have different names for them. Okay. Let's see. Best singing canary. Some cool sounds they can make. You've made yourself an undesirable Tsunami with that post. Now you're on the watch list. You might have put us all on the watch list. All right, yes, you sing very beautifully. So that's what canaries sound like when they sing. Obviously, I need to get a canary for the hive. Put it right over here so you all can just listen to it. Well, I'm going to switch rooms anyway. Yes, if I wasn't already. Tsunami wasn't already. Re-education camps. All right. So that was the life history of canaries, I guess you could say. Wonderful little songbirds used for mining and up all the way up until the 1980s. Pretty crazy. We should do loons sometimes. You want to talk about a weird sound in birds? R2D2 burbs. Yes. If I got a canary, I would name it R2. Yep. All right. So, thank you for sticking around for this last segment of Live from the Hive. Appreciate all of you. And we will Life from the Hive for Breeze Bestiary, not for Life from the Hive. I'm not closing Life from the Hive yet. Thank you all for joining me for Breeze Bestiary. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, so, yeah, I don't know why I messed that up and started ending the show before I was ready to end the show, because I have, some housekeeping stuff to go over now that I'm off of duty doing my segments, so I can get some time for some real talk. Things are looking pretty grim. This is the first Live from the Hive since our leadership administration has switched over, and I'm not trying to doom spiral or doom doomer at you all about it. Yeah, it was a little cray. The Cabbage Patch Kids was my favorite one. Some of my favorite ones so far. I'm weird with it. Just how can people be so gullible? But things are rough for a lot of people in a lot of different places, and my friend BB asked me to share this around for her good friend Kat and their child Ellie. Almost said Eli. Ellie, having some housing insecurities. So, if you want to help out, it's right here. Now, I'm not obligating. I know everybody's kind of struggling at the moment, including myself. So I get. Why is that not sending? Hold on. Oh, it's got too many words. There we go. There we go. It'll send now. That's the GoFundMe link. If you wanted to help, but no problem if you don't. There's struggle everywhere. I'm not able to help financially right now. I'm having my own struggles. In case you haven't been in the loop, I left my corporate job after over a decade. I actually feel really good about leaving it because I wasn't doing good things. No matter, it's been all that time trying to convince myself I was. But regardless, I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm down here in El Paso. Right now, I've been focusing on doing this stuff, doing my Life from the Hive stuff, and doing my transposition stuff. Just trying to market things, doing my adult content too. But that's neither here nor there. Because we all need to be working and holding ourselves together as the community at this point. I don't know what else we can do besides lean on each other at this time. So if you have the means to help, please do. If not, I understand. If you want something back for your services again, or for your buck, I do have the 4 CrypticCorner t-shirts available. The link's in the description. We have Mothman, Swamp Booger, Dogman, and the Jersey Devil. So, I'm insane from moving to Texas. Why is that? El Paso's like one of the safest and most progressive cities in the country. It's not like I moved just to rural Texas. I was in a rural area that was not safe for queer people. It's part of the reason I came down here. I didn't feel safe in the location I was, just because of the isolation. I was like the only queer person I knew. Not the only queer person. I was definitely the only trans person that I knew. And every time I'd meet it, I made 2 trans friends while I lived there, a total of 2, and both of them moved away to the city. Both of them moved to St. Louis before I even got a chance to really hang out with them too much. So, yeah, I'm not going to East Texas. Well, I might go to East Texas for like conferences and stuff. But yesterday, I actually received a request from Peter Boghossian to come down to Florida and participate in his little street epistemology thing. While Peter, I'm adamantly not interested. I ran it past the other girls at the transpositions. None of them are interested either. We're not going to help you spread your grift, but there'll be more on this when transpositions comes around Thursday, because I'm going to we're going to compose a response. Kind of interested in who else they're reaching out to, because we're just a little tiny channel. I can't even believe they found us. We just hit 500 like last week. We're up to like 555 now, but we're growing pretty good. but we haven't been around that long, and we're not that popular. So it is what it is, I guess. The city is safe. Safe. The state is not. I'll agree with that. And I don't plan on staying in Texas forever. We're just here. We are in El Paso right now because Ben's stationed at Fort Bliss here in El Paso. So we won't be here permanently. We're just here for a time period. We're here to up the queerness of the state. We're here to gay up Texas. Yeah, we're here to turn a little bit more purple, and then we'll move on once we've conquered Texas. It shouldn't take, but our lease is up in November. I imagine we'll have Texas conquered by then. Either that or Texas will conquer us. One or the other. Remember the Alamo. We're here. We're queer. Deal with it. All those catchphrases. What did Peter Boghossian do? Well, he's kind of a very transphobic individual. He actually tried to trick the gender research people with fake papers about like penises and stuff. It was really weird, and he couldn't find anybody to publish it, so he published it at this pay to publish journal, and then they published it, and he's like, oh, see, look how stupid they are. But you can publish anything in a pay to publish journal. They don't actually read it or review it. They just check the format. They just check the format and make sure that's solid, and then they'll publish it. That's pay to publish. So, and then he tried to spin that as if there was a problem with the with gender research. He's a very disingenuous person. Anyway, that's my take on it. Not trying to push anybody's buttons about it. I don't care if you like Peter Boghossian. You go do whatever the fuck you want. But I'm not going to interact with the man. I'm not going to participate in his work when it's only serves to further marginalize the community that I'm here to support and represent. Yeah, Atheists for Liberty. Exactly, Ember. Thank you. Todd Sheedy, freaking Silverman. All those. Those are his cohort. He's not one of us. He's a different kind of. Oh shit! The pool's gonna overflow if somebody don't turn that water off. All right, I have to wrap up here. We will. We'll pick up this story later on the transpositions later this week. So look forward to that if you're not subscribed. But I'm going to go out with one of my favorite folk bands that I found. They don't make music anymore, but they're freaking adorable as hell. The Student Loans doing Canary in a Coal Mine by the Police. So please enjoy this. Remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.
With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what's really happening and what's really true. Good news, everyone! Welcome to The Transpositions, your compass in the rugged landscape of transgender issues. Here, we strive to be the beacon of authenticity, providing a platform that amplifies the voices and experiences of the transgender community. From breaking news to in-depth features to breaking down the real science, we are committed to fostering understanding, empathy, and empowerment for all individuals across the gender spectrum. Join us as we navigate the complexities, celebrate the triumphs, and advocate for the rights of transgender people worldwide. Together, we can redefine boundaries, challenge stereotypes, and champion inclusivity. Subscribe today. The link is in the description.